matters most in our lives often happens quietly. So quietly, in fact, that we often wonder if it's working at all. We show up, we repeat ourselves, we model what we believe, we plant seeds that we may never see. And if we're honest, there are moments we wonder if any of it is actually taking root, until one day it clicks. Welcome back to Summit After the Storm. I'm Bart Wilbanks, and today I want to talk to you about one of these moments when you suddenly realize the work has been happening all along. Something happened last night that I don't want you to forget. After a midweek worship service, my stepson Reese and I were driving home. Normally we ask the kids what they learned in worship, and we get short answers. A name, a keyword, a shrug. We have to pull teeth to get details out. But tonight, something different happened. Out of nowhere, Reese leaned forward and asked me a question he's never asked before. Bart, what did you learn in your worship? So I answered. I shared the passage, what it meant, how it applied to my own life. And when I finished, Reese paused for a second and then said, now I'm going to tell you about my lesson. And he did. And not just the story, but the meaning. What he said about how we live. What it said about how we treat people. Something about that lesson had struck him so deeply that he needed to share it. He wasn't answering a question. He had a message. It felt like my 10-year-old was preaching to me. And in that moment, I realized something had shifted. The work had clicked. Here's what struck me. Nothing about that moment was new. The conversations, the modeling, the repetition, all of it had been happening for months. But formation doesn't announce itself. It works underground. And then one day, without warning, it surfaces. Not because you forced it, but because it was ready. Kilimanjaro taught me that same lesson. Day after day, progress felt slow. The terrain didn't always change. The views didn't always inspire. But one morning, the landscape shifted. And suddenly, we realized how much ground we had actually covered. Nothing dramatic happened that day. We had just been faithful long enough for the work to show. Scripture speaks directly to this kind of moment. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. What struck me in that moment with Reese is that the verse doesn't say when the harvest will show up, only that it will show up. And in that car ride, I realized something clearly. That moment with Reese was a harvest. Not the final one, not the full one, but a real one. A visible sign that months of small, unremarkable faithfulness had taken root. And it took me back to Kilimanjaro. Because the summit wasn't the only harvest on that mountain. The real harvest was what came back down with us. Perspective, humility, a reordering of priorities. The summit was just the evidence. Just like Reese's words in the car weren't the work. They were the proof that the work had already been happening. That's how harvest often shows up. Not as an ending, but as confirmation along the way. And that's why weariness so often precedes it. Because harvest rarely arrives when we expect it. Only when the work has been done long enough to sustain it. This matters far beyond parenting. Leaders invest in people the same way. They model values. They reinforce culture. They repeat themselves more than they'd like. And often they don't see the return right away. But formation is happening, even when it's invisible. And one day, it clicks. There's a question worth setting with. Where have you been faithful without seeing results yet? And what would change if you trusted that the work might already be taking root, even if you can't measure it yet? When the work finally clicks, it reminds us why patience matters, why modeling matters, why faithfulness matters. If this reflection resonated with you, follow the podcast on Spotify and learn more at summitafterstorm.com. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon. And until next time, keep climbing. Holy poly.